So welcome everyone to our first TIC webinar. My name is Steve Cornish and I'm the Director General of MSF in Canada. And I'm the host of the TIC, or the Transformational Investment Capacity. We're delighted that so many of you around the MSF world have signed up today. We have over 130 people interested and dozens of people already joining us online. So we're really excited to be able to host this webinar and to have all of you with us today. So today, I'd like to speak to you about the Transformational Investment Capacity, introduce you to some of the team members, and be able to open it up for your questions so that we can really strengthen the utilization of this investment capacity and let you know how you're able to get involved and how the Secretariat here can help you with proposals and with your own ideas to bring them to fruition in order to benefit MSF and our patients. So we'll go to the first slide, which is the TIC Selection Committee. And the committee itself is made up of a very diverse group, an international group of 9 members from around the world. And we've assembled both MSFers and non-MSFers in order to ensure that we have a new kind of governance and a more transformational approach to managing the TIC itself. You'll recognize some of the faces for those of you who are on camera. We have ex-Secretary Generals, presidents, and doctors from our movement who are there to be able to guarantee that the proposals and the projects that we are funding will really be able to meet the needs of MSF patients. That cast and crew is joined by some eminent people who are leaders in their field from both learning, medical, and the venture capital world to help us really be as innovative as we can be. And the role of that committee is to review and evaluate proposals that will come in from various members around the world, to then track those proposals and accompany the project teams along their journeys to help extend their own expertise, to make links and networks, and to be able to really ensure that we're building things forward, future forward, and ensure that we're being as transformational as possible. And I think we've lost the picture feed, but hopefully we still have you all on the line, and that's being worked out as we speak. And joining us from the Secretariat today, we'll have 2 folks that some of you already know, Buissonniere, who was an ex-Secretary General of MSF, and Bret, who was our International Treasurer. And they will speak to you later on about the genesis of the TIC and get you more formalized with the work that the TIC is already doing. I'm also really pleased to introduce you to the TIC team, and that's the Secretariat, and you'll see that now coming up on your slide. The Secretariat's job is really to help individuals and project teams build their proposals, build their business cases in a way that they know that the selection committee will appreciate. They're there to help connect you also, because we have different projects from around the movement, some that are treating the same subjects, but also many people interested in the same types of things. And so we try to strengthen the proposals as they're being built by helping you network with other MSFers and external parties who can help strengthen your proposal to give it the best shot at being successful. And the Secretariat is made up of the folks that you see on the image in front of you. There's myself, and I'm the lead on behalf of the XCOM, so I go back and forth between the XCOM and the MSF movement and the Secretariat. And then we have Emmanuel, who's also sitting just beside me, and you'll be introduced to him shortly, who's the new lead for the Transformational Investment Capacity. We have Kathy Kalafatidis, who's the project manager, and Ruby Ciel, who's our coordinator. And together they make up the TIC. And with that, thank you so much all for joining us. And I'd like to pass the microphone over to Bret.
Thanks, Steve, and welcome everyone to our TIC webinar. Back in 2015, as we were thinking about how RSA3 could help to shape the future of MSF, we wanted to address the underinvestment in innovation that we'd been grappling with for some time. The core XCOM took the decision to make use of MSF fundraising potential beyond the pre-agreed operational plans covering the RSA3 period to make this happen. The intent was to create an opportunity to trigger transformational changes that would radically improve the organization's ability to address key external and internal challenges. The external challenges range from the ever-increasing complexity and scale of humanitarian medical crises to new patterns of disease outbreaks, the global displacement of people, a need for greater visibility of humanitarian action, and a medical R&D system that does not serve the needs of the people MSF assists. With advances in medical science, operations, and other technologies that can transform our service delivery, the TIC represents a unique opportunity to develop and/or expand out-of-the-box responses to these challenges to positively impact both the level of care provided to patients we seek to assist and our organizational ability to better carry out our social mission. MSF will invest money, intellectual capital, and human resources to implement these transformational, game-changing, and innovative initiatives. All MSFers are eligible to submit TIC proposals. That includes MSF staff in offices, the field, and association members like you. I'd like to pass you now to our new TIC lead, Emmanuel Guillaud, to take you through the TIC criteria, focus areas, and process.
Thank you, Bret, and thank you all for participating in the webinar today. The first topic I would like to cover is the criteria for selecting proposals. What types of projects are we looking for? The TIC established key criteria for proposal selection. The first one is impact. Project proposals must offer the potential to create a sizable and transformational impact on MSF mission by improving outcomes for patients and improving our ability to provide medical assistance to populations in need. The second criteria is viability. Solutions proposed must be feasible for MSF and demonstrate long-term sustainability. The proposals should include an appropriate way of measuring the success of the project. With regard to risk tolerance, higher risks of failures are accommodated in innovation and transformation if they have the potential for greater impact. Where we may fail, we can also learn. This is the reason why proposals for projects that carry higher risk of failure will be welcomed by the TIC, based upon the potential benefits they can deliver to MSF. Finally, projects must be scalable and replicable across the movement. Transformation will be achieved by testing, learning, and then scaling across MSF. The application form includes a question on the proposal team's vision for what a success would look like if the project is scaled and adopted across MSF. Besides these proposal criteria, the TIC has also defined a way of conducting projects. I would like to take a few minutes to cover some very important guiding practices for the TIC projects. In terms of time frame, we are looking for projects to be delivered in an agile, accelerated way to reduce the time between idea and outcome. We are encouraging teams to follow the concept of minimum viable product and ask yourself the question, what is the minimum product in terms of features, scope, or cost that can be designed, developed, tested, released, and learned? The idea here is to deliver functionality in stages, speed up the project, reduce risk, and deliver value to MSF and its beneficiaries quickly. We are also looking for projects that engage external partnerships where appropriate. This brings the best expertise and excellence on a specific topic, combining the strengths of MSF experience from OCs, partner sections, platforms, working groups, and field with the strengths of external partners, whether they are university, other organizations, or private companies. Transparency is also very important. Projects should be visible across the MSF movement with a high degree of accountability. We want all MSFers to have access to the list of projects supported by the TIC and be able to see at which stage of their life cycle they are. We are also putting a high emphasis on quality of the project plan and business case. Project implementation should be structured in a way that best sets it up for success. The right steps, the right resources, and the right engagement from stakeholders. Projects should be built with compelling business case and clear milestones to measure progress and success. Finally, in terms of standards, Projects should follow common technology standards, such as open access, open source, data ownership, to ensure technology is interoperable and can be easily scaled, shared, and accessible across the movement. What are the types of proposals supported by the TIC? When the TIC was created, 3 areas were defined as requiring investment based upon the MSF needs. First, we have the human resources, learning and development. The objective here is to develop and retain staff through game-changing learning and development initiatives. Projects in this area help MSF staff with training, mentoring, coaching, and personal development to enable them to better serve populations in need. Second is obviously medical research and development. The TIC supports medical research and development projects that give priority to the needs of the populations that we assist. Projects in this area can include alternative research and development models that are more open, collaborative, and serve the challenges that are unique to the populations we address, such as tuberculosis or malaria. With regards to operations and improvements and technology, the new technologies and state-of-the-art practices that Bret mentioned can also help MSF in updating of operational capacity. Projects in this area can propose new tools or processes that can make us more effective in our field work. The TIC will also consider proposals outside these 3 areas, where a strong rationale and business case can be demonstrated. In terms of funding, most funding is targeted for large-scale project proposals, requesting investments over 250,000 euros. There is also funding targeted to incubators ideas, proposal requesting funding under 250,000 euros. Incubator ideas may start small, but have the potential to scale to major transformational projects. A large-scale project may be a new learning and development tool that improves the way we train our field staff, or a change in the technology we use in field operations. An incubator idea can be a new way of distributing medicines or a prototype for a new innovative medical technology. An incubator idea can also be a business case or research for a major project that requires greater study before significant funds can be committed. So how do you apply for TIC funding? If you have a TIC idea for an incubator, you will need a 2-page concept note and the support from either an MSF board or an operations center. This requires submitting the concept note to your board or OC, and if supported, obtaining a signature from either the board president, the board TIC representative, or the OC general director. If you have a TIC idea for a large-scale proposal, you will also need a business case and sponsorship from one OC and the support from another OC. The application process follows different steps. Any MSF staff or association member is eligible to submit proposals. That includes staff in the various headquarters around the world, expatriate and national staff in the countries where we operate, and any member of one of our associations, be it a national one, a regional one, or the IGA. Application forms can be found on the TIC website and sent to the TIC team once completed. Once a proposal is submitted, it will be reviewed for completeness by the TIC Secretariat and submitted to the TIC Selection Committee for evaluation. Approved proposal will be funded. Some proposals may be declined. Others may require additional work before being resubmitted. The TIC team is here to support you if you have any questions or need assistance on a concept note or business case. For example, the TIC Secretariat has conducted a joint business case working session with the project team to help articulate key elements of a proposal plan. We are also reaching out to MSF or operation centers, partner sections, platforms, and working groups to ensure the TIC is widely understood as a vehicle for MSF transformation. Finally, complete instructions on how to apply for funding, as well as the application forms, FAQ, and other information are available on the Transformational Investment Capacity website or by contacting the TIC staff based in Canada at tic@msf.org. Now, I would like to pass the presentation to Marine Buissonniere, who will take you through our progress to date, as well as some of the proposals and key insights. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. And welcome to the TIC team. So we're really glad that you just joined us and joined the team to take its lead. So as some of you might know, the TIC was actually officially launched in the fall of 2016. And what we've done to date is, it's not massive, but it's not insignificant. We've met 5 times already, both in person and via teleconferences to review proposals. And we've reviewed 21 proposals to date and have approved 11 projects valued at about 32 million euro. Not all at once, but 32 million euro is the overall value of the projects that we've approved for now. We also have about 20 projects in the pipelines, projects that we know of that have not yet been submitted, but we know that they're coming for the subsequent cycles of review by the selection committee. To give you a sense of where the projects have come from to date, we have had projects sponsored or supported by OGBA, by OCA, OCB, OCG, and OCP, as well as some projects that came through the Access campaign and some partner sections. Some of the projects have proposed already partnership with universities, including world-class universities, and we're also currently in discussion with DNDi for a forthcoming proposal that's in the pipeline. So a range of sources already for the types of projects that we've supported and reviewed. Now, let me take you through a few of those approved projects just to give you a sense of what they are and to demonstrate the type of projects, both large scale and incubators, across the 3 focus areas, human resources, medical R&D, and operational improvement that we've been looking at. So, Kathy, if I can ask you to go to slide 11. Thank you. So one of the projects in the field of human resources learning and development that we've reviewed and approved as a selection committee, it's called Mentoring and Coaching 3. So this project is one that basically looked at a gap in skills and experience for managers in the field and increasing demands for support for managers and senior managers and leaders of field teams in difficult environments. There was a pilot that was conducted under the leadership of MSF Norway and that demonstrated that there was a value in basically proposing mentoring to staff in the field in a fashion that would help them feel more confident to perform their functions and increase both their performance, reduce staff turnover, and in the end, basically increase the ways improve the ways in which the team worked. The proposed solution that the teams came forward with was actually to scale up this mentoring experience that they had successfully conducted and documented and expand tailored individual and team mentoring and coaching services for MSF staff. They also proposed, in addition to the coaching and mentoring, to create an online repository of learning programs to promote learning within the MSF environment. This project has the potential impact to transform some of the ways in which staff work and interact in the fields with their teams. And you basically have the potential to use mentoring and coaching to improve staff competencies and be better able to do the work and have the skills and confidence to serve the projects and the patients. So that's one of the examples of the mentoring and coaching projects that we approved as a selection committee, one of the few projects that we had in the realm of human resources learning and development. Another project that is a large one is one that we approved in the area of medical R&D. And it's a 3P project that some of you that I see on the list for this webinar will be familiar with. and it's one that's looking at addressing the dearth of medicines for tuberculosis, and is looking at a model called the 3P, the 3P standing for pull, pull, push. The idea being to try and transform the way in which research and development for tuberculosis is conducted by, number one, trying to pull funding by creating milestone prices that might incentivize research and, in a sense, crowdsource research in particular directions that are currently not being looked at. Pooling, both in terms of collaboration across research and organizations, but also in terms of intellectual property, and push in terms of pushing funding for particular areas of R&D that might be worth incentivizing upfront when it comes to trying to develop particularly promising areas. The potential impact for this particular 3P project is that it could not only deliver better drug for tuberculosis, but also improve or change the way in which one thinks of research and developments, and challenge, in a sense, some of the traditional research and development model, possibly leading to better treatments for patients. So this is a large-scale project. It's a relatively high-risk project. It has, a length and a prospect of, we're looking at about 10 years. It has 2 OC sponsors, and it's one that in the area of medical R&D could lead interesting results for MSF and its patient. A third example, Kathy, if we could go to slide 13. Thank you. It's a small project. It's an incubator one. It's one below 250,000. And it was proposed to us by an MSFer, an outsider, that came saying, there's a number of areas in our field where getting the medical logistic tools and replacement parts to some of the locations where we work can be extremely lengthy, extremely difficult, sometimes very expensive. And they proposed to try sending and testing how 3D printers that are being used today for everything from medical equipments to new tools in Space Lab could be used in MSF projects, with the view to address those difficulties when it comes to particular pieces of supplies for medical logistic tools and replacement parts. The goal of this project, this incubator project, is to test and learn how 3D printers could be used in MSF contexts. If successful, 3D printing could increase the timeliness of the replacements of certain parts and the availability of equipment in the field, and provide a lower cost approach to supplies for certain products and certain supplies. This is a test. This is one where we know that we're going to learn a lot through these incubators, and the outcome is not written, but we see and we saw as a selection committee a potential in trying it out in the field that could really transform some of the ways in which we've been thinking of supply for some particular tools in the MSF's context. So this is just to give you a flavor of the types of projects that have come our way and that we've approved. As I mentioned, there's many more of those, and the list of the approved ones are accessible on the website. But these just give you a sense in the 3 areas of human resources, R&D, and OpStech, what can be the types of projects that one looks at from a TIC perspective. So as a TIC selection committee, we've gone through 5 rounds of selections, and we've realized that we're learning also ourselves what we're looking at into project, or what we're looking for in projects as we review them, as we discuss them, as we interact with the team that have applied for the TIC. And we've garnered, we feel, a few insights that we wanted to share with you all in terms of what and how we've been looking at projects. What makes a good TIC? Well, a few things clearly have really struck us. The first one is this concept of minimum viable product that Emmanuel has described earlier. As Emmanuel said, proposal can deliver functionality in stages using a more agile and nimble approach. And thinking of projects in stages could speed up projects, reduce risk, deliver value to MSF quickly, and stay in step as well with technology advances that are happening at a very rapid pace outside of MSF. So So the approaching projects, proposals, and development in stages is something that we found of very high value when we've been examining TIC proposals. Another thing that the committee has been looking at is the notion of user testing. We look at how a proposal intends to test their ideas with the populations that are or might be impacted or hopefully will benefit from the particular proposal that is being considered. I have a few selections been located or a group of people to provide them with early feedback and learning so that the proposal or the project or the product can be adapted accordingly, whether it's deep field experiment or non-deep field. But this idea of test user experience, which really could aid user adoption and provide valuable input into how the project is rolled out, is something that has come up repeatedly in terms of ensuring that a project maximizes its chances of success. Another aspect that the committee has looked at when evaluating a proposal is that of change management. We are interested and we look for who is engaged on the project, how the team engage different groups, platforms, allies, stakeholders across MSF, and how change will happen or is planned to happen, and how will it be incorporated into the plan, and how change will be assessed. So this notion of change management is one that has come up repeatedly with the committee and one that is valued in terms of helping us think through how the teams themselves thinks about how change will happen. External partnership is another of those insights or elements that the committee has systematically tried to raise or bring value about. The team looked outside of MSF to see who is the best at helping with the development of this particular idea. Who are the experts in this field? How do we learn from them? How do we engage them on our projects? How do we make sure that we can leapfrog and really start from where the best thinking is at right now on a particular issue through external partnership? That's been, I think, another key point that the committee has been exploring and looking at when looking at proposals. Impact metrics, probably more classic, but still super important. How we define the measures of success, related not simply to the activities, but to the people we serve. So not simply the volumes of, how many patients or how many applications or whatever, but how many patients' life have we contributed to improve through this particular projects? Can we try to think in terms of metrics that speak to the impact the particular project might have? I think the impact metrics is really another point where the committee has digged at times very deep and really try to engage the project teams on. Another one of those very key insight or key points of discussions and examination has been the notion of transformation. What is transformational impact? And it has become clear through our various cycles that in some cases, incremental change may be transformational for MSF, but in others, the proposal that we receive and that we're examining may not push the boundaries enough to result in true changes in MSF's ability to deliver services to the population we serve. So that's another one. Value for money. Are the benefits provided commensurate with the cost? Are there better ways? Are there better ways of delivering those benefits for less cost? So we're looking also at the budgets very carefully. Links with the fields. How does the proposal access the population we would like to assist? Is there a path for engagements? Are there the necessary connection with the operational centers, with the fields, so that actually this idea that we're examining is connected enough to MSF to actually have a chance to be taken up and tested and tried out? And finally, MSF expertise. Has the team that's putting forward the proposal checked in with the MSF references and the MSF experts in the areas of their proposals? Have they discussed? Do they know what's going on in that particular area? We don't want to see necessarily a series of projects that come in while a number of existing ideas have already been tested and tried within MSF of similar nature, and the individuals would not be aware of them. Other insights include consideration on speed. In general, we're looking at project, or we're seeking to see projects that offer a potential for crystallization and for rapid crystallization. We often struggle or try to find a balance between exhaustive, lengthy development timelines that we see in some of the projects that we examine and the rapid, transformational, innovative crystallization that we hope to incentivize with the TIC. And finally, I think another point that we've come to raise regularly with project team is really to think through whether it is always better or always needed for a project or for a particular concept to be conceived and fully developed in-house, as opposed to writing off existing development outside that may demand or be better suited, with the partnerships or with the different ways of looking at developing, but not necessarily all internal to MSF. So those are some of the insights, questions, ways in which we realized ourselves as a selection committee that we've been looking at the proposals that have come our way, and in a sense of the things that, as a committee ourselves, we've learned that we tend to look at as we progress through the TIC cycles. Surely. We will continue building our understanding of transformation and how to best leverage the tremendous capabilities of MSF teams in improving the way we serve our populations in need. But those are already some of our findings and some of our reflections when it comes to the projects that we've examined. So I will pass it back to Emmanuel that will facilitate the Q&A parts of the discussion. But I'm really excited to see so many of you on the TIC webinar today, and I'm sure this is the beginning of a conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marine. The Q&A session will now begin. We ask that everyone on the webinar with a question, please use a chat room located on the right side of your screen to submit your questions. Apologize to those calling in that they won't be able to ask questions due to technical issues. However, we encourage all attendees to submit any additional questions that you could not be addressed or shared today to the tic@msf.org email address.
So the first question that we have is if we don't have links in MSF, how do we get a project sponsor or support? So that, I'll ask Steve if he can answer that question.
Okay, so it's a good question, and we've received it from several people. The Secretariat itself can help you link up with MSFers who have subject knowledge in the area of your proposal. And they can also try to help guide you to the nearest association in your area, wherever you may be, so that you can get in touch with the board of that association and present your proposal to them. And the Secretariat can also help make that link. So it shouldn't be a problem that stops you from participating if you're having trouble identifying someone to help lead you in the movement. The Secretariat can help play that role.
Great. So then the second question we have is a different kind of one. I'll ask Bret if he can answer this one. So it's, where did the name, the Transformational Investment Capacity, come from?
There I am. It came from three of us sitting around the table while we were working on the outline for the RSA3, and it was really an idea that was put forward by Ricardo, Jerome, and myself. We tried to encompass kind of the long-term goals of what we were aiming for.
Great. Then Bret, there's this kind of a follow-up question: is where did the three focus areas come from? So why were the three focus areas of human resources, learning and development, operational improvements and technology, and the medical research and development, why were those formulated for the TIC?
I think those are when you look at our operations and what we do every day in the field, those are the three kind of core activities. It's first about the people, it's about the process, and then it's the technology that underpins both of those. that make those two happen.
Okay, so we have another question that came in that's related to the financial grants. So Bret, if being the kind of the financial kind of lead on this, if you wanted to answer this question as well. So it says, aside from the financial grant, what are the TIC exemptions that we can expect in terms of budget growth, ceiling, FTE ceiling, etc.? Are TIC approved projects expected to operate inside or outside of the operating center annual budgetary exercise?
I'm not sure I entirely understood the question, but let me try to take my best shot at it. The TIC budget operates within the total MSF budget. When you roll up all the different partner sections and operational centers and field, it sits within that. So it is a line item when we think about the balanced budget that we aim for, give or take, at MSF overall. It doesn't necessarily sit within any partner section budget or within any operational center budget today when you're looking at 2018, for example. But the money is there. We expect to raise it every year in terms of annual fundraising, and then we will allocate it and move it around the world as needed to fund the different TIC projects and retain the people that we need, the resources that we need to make these projects happen. So it's not strictly in terms of a headcount or a financial resource. It's not within any one section's or operational center's budget today. I'm just repeating a little bit here, but it is within the totality of the MSF budget. I think, Steve, you want to
I just add one thing, that for the individual organizations that will be backing a TIC, as Bret said, the TIC costs are identified as such, and they're over and above then the actual budget that was agreed for that year. So you're not expected to have the TIC cost enter into your pre-approved RSA budget. It does come as an addition, and it comes out of our reserves.
Okay, great. Now we have another question, and Emmanuel, I'll call on you for this. So it's a number of questions centered around incubator versus large-scale projects. So the first part of this question is, can incubator projects be extended? And if so, can the extensions be brought to a larger scale proposal of that same idea? And is there a time frame for these TIC incubator projects?
Okay, very good question. As we mentioned, the incubator projects, one of the objectives is to build a business case or research that could lead to a more large-scale project. So yes, in fact, we encourage to bring incubators, to suggest incubators, and to start small and test and learn from this incubator. And then if it's successful, you can submit a large-scale project that will allow the transformation to be scaled across MSF. In terms of time frame, the incubator project will have to be completed. Then the selection committee obviously will review the outcome and will have a dialogue with the applicant to see what could be the best next step, whether it's another incubator or large-scale project.
Great, thank you. So we have another question relating to the Human Resources Learning and Development portfolio. So I'll also ask, actually, perhaps I'll ask Maureen if you could chime in on this one, since you're the selection committee member as well. So this question says that so far there seems to be a bigger investment in human resources learning and development. So does this make you less inclined to be interested in new HR proposals in the same category compared to the other areas? Do you now scrutinize proposals in the human resources learning and development category harder?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've actually spoke about this as a committee in our last meeting because of exactly the reason that's described. That is, we have had a number so far of human resources and learning and development related proposals. We've really made the commitment to look at each of the proposal for its own value, And we're very aware that if this particular proposal had come before that one, maybe that would have influenced the way we have looked at it. But we're really certainly trying as a committee, first to look at the proposal for its own value. Of course, subsequently, we're also looking at our portfolio. What is it that we're investing in collectively when it comes to human resources and learning? And we're trying to make sure that the various proposals that we've approved within that particular area are aware of each other's presence, interface with each other if and when relevant, know how to exchange and rely on each other's resources to further mutualize and capitalize the various projects that have been rolled out. But for sure, we try to explore and examine each of the proposals on their own value.
Okay, great. Thank you, Marine. The next question is around MSF association members. And so we'll direct this one maybe to Steve, if that works for you. The question is, are there any opportunities planned for MSF association members to get together and brainstorm needs and ideas that could lead to proposals? And if there isn't any kind of plan, then what are some ways that they could potentially become more engaged?
So it's a great question. And I'd say that we didn't plan a mass brainstorming sessions to come up with ideas. But part of what we're doing as the Secretariat is to really ramp up communications about the TIC and to share the how and the what and the evolution of the TIC, so that it spurs in our association members, in our employees, our expats all around the world, so that it spurs in them the desire to get involved and to take proactive action. And in fact, whether you're in the Latin American Association or the East African Association, if you'd like, you can get together and have a series of discussions. Just a few weeks ago, we were at the Latin American General Assembly, and out of the General Assembly and a presentation on the TIC, they started to come up with some ideas that they wanted to reflect on and potentially propose a TIC incubator on. So I'd say that the onus is really on the association members and on our staff to look at what their field needs are, look at what the gaps are, look at what some exciting ideas that they might have to transform the organization, and then to get together to talk about them, get in touch with the steering committee here in Canada, and we'll try to help you bring those ideas to fruition.
Great. I think that's a great example, Steve, as well. Thank you. So the next question is around sponsorship from an operating center. And so then, Emmanuel, if I could call on you to answer this question. So this person's asking that they would like to get sponsorship from an operating center, and how would they pitch their idea to the operating center? So are there any practical suggestions? For example, after doing the research on a current MSF initiative, should they write a concept note and send it to the OC asking for sponsorship? So how do they approach the operating center basically with their proposal idea?
Okay, it's a good question. If a research has already been made and an idea is growing within a section, obviously some person within the OC might be aware, but otherwise creating a concept note and can also be a way to summarize the project and its impact and its value. And the TIC Secretariat can help on that exercise. And once the concept note is sent, it can be channeled through the OC to the different entities and group and platform and departments that can evaluate and add to the concept note before it's brought to the for approval at the OC level.
Great, thank you very much. So the next one is a bit more of a strategic question. So I'll leave that to Steve to answer that one, if that's okay. So what are the strategies to get uptake of this TIC opportunity in different sections around the world?
So great question, and I guess the first part of that strategy is participating in this webinar today. We're really trying to get the message out, and as part of our communication campaign, we've written up the TIC in MSF newsletters, in the ins and outs, for example. We're talking with the different platforms. We're sending Secretariat and selection members to AGs and to heads of mission week to try to really get the message out, to explain better the workings of the TIC so that it becomes much more accessible. And then we're really making a great effort to drive people both to the website and to have discussions with the Secretariat itself so that once there are good ideas coming, they will be able to be helped to move along.
Yeah, and on that note, I would add also that this webinar is the first one, and we're also planning to organize others, in particular to reach out to the MSF in the Far East, in Africa, in Australia, and also we are participating to the scientific days in the UK the month of May, and other events organized by MSF around innovation.
We'll also have Musa Abrams, who's in South Africa, who's also a selection committee member and a former MSFer, who will be attending the IGA. We'll be showing the TIC film at the IGA and also having some information there available so that the representatives from all of the associations around the world will also be updated on the TIC and be able to take that back to their association bodies.
So the next question is around the risk tolerance of projects. And so, Bret, I'll ask if you can comment on this one as also part of the selection committee. So in terms of the risk tolerance, are these risks related to the viability of the project, or are they related to the context where the project is being implemented, or both?
I definitely would say both. One of the things the selection committee has really tried to do is work with the different proposals and figure out ways to de-risk them, ways to kind of to come up with this minimal viable product or minimal viable first step to actually proof of concept. And through that process, de-risk, but then also talk to the different presenters about where are you linking up within MSF, how is this going to scale, what are the ways that we can use proven technologies or proven ideas already to test and get really at the core of what they're trying to do for the organization. But in terms of risk appetite, this is going way back to when we were thinking about setting up the TIC, and the perspective of both the IB and the XCOM at the time is the organization regrettably kind of had entered into a phase where it became very risk adverse in terms of doing internal investment versus the very the large risk appetite that we have when we actually do field operations and what we do in the field every day. And so there was this kind of dichotomy of risk appetites that we were seeing. And what we wanted to try and accomplish with the TIC is to take that risk appetite that we have in terms of what we do operationally and transfer that in terms of what we're doing on the investment side to move forward the organization's capacities, whether it be on the learning side, on technology, on HR, or wherever it may be. And so I think the TIC has a large risk capacity, but what we are trying to get the different proposals to do is de-risk as much as possible the initial stages of what they're trying to accomplish, whether that just simply means simplify, or think about milestones. Either whatever it is, we're trying to help people de-risk, but into a larger risk appetite.
Great, thank you, Bret. So another question came in around the financial kind of workings of the TIC again. So this one talks about, there was mention of the TIC coming out of reserves of MSF. And so perhaps, Bret, I'll ask you to answer this question. So I'll just say this question now. So does this mean that if the overall financial situation of MSF deteriorates, that the TIC will then cease to exist? And if so, then has there been a cutoff already in line to determine when this would happen?
So this has been, I think, one of the largest points of misunderstanding when we're setting up the TIC and kind of ongoing. It's actually not explicitly taken out of reserves. It's actually a budgeted item in terms of the 1.5 or 1.6 billion euro budget that we have this year. It's a line item in the overall global budget. It doesn't reside in any individual budget. We know in the short and kind of when we look at year in and year out, this year, next year, MSF may have a small revenue shortfall relative to our expense base. In that case, because the TIC is an important overall program that the movement's trying to back, we will fund it out of reserves in the short run, but the expectation is if we're meeting our budgets, or at least our average budgets over a 3 or 4 year time horizon, it's really coming out of annual budgets. And in terms of the longer term future, Right now, RSA3 runs through the end of 2019. But one of another key element of what we added to RSA3 was we're doing these 4-year rolling budgets. So we're already starting to budget for 2020 and 2021. And when we're doing the 2020 budget to 2021 budgets, it is being put in as a placeholder to continue the TIC program into the future. Whether the movement decides to actually do that or not, I think will really be based upon the performance and the success that we continue to have over the next 2 to 3 years. So it's not a fait accompli that this is a 5 or 6 year program. It's really going to be based on the successes that we have and the reflections that ourselves, the XCOM, the different boards of directors and sections around the world have on terms of whether this is really helpful or not. But in terms of the financial side, we are, at least for the time being, putting it into the future planning of the movement.
Great, thank you, Bret. A follow-up question to that finance one again is how much funding does the TIC budget dispense annually, and what is the time frame for that budget? I think you answered the latter part, but in terms of how much does it dispense annually?
Right. So initially, we wrote the TIC budget as being 280 million euros over the RSA3 periods over 4 years. Because it took a little bit of time to get the structure of the TIC off the ground, that's been walked back to about 265 million euros. That's not so important, the exact number there. I think so. If you simply divided that by 4, you would have what an annual average budget would look like. I think in the life of the TIC process, what we're seeing right now is we are funding a lot of projects initially on a first round of funding, and that may be 200,000 euros, it may be 2 million euros, or it may be in the extreme. We've written one for 20 million euros. I think what we'll see happen is that this year in 2018, the average will probably be below that kind of 60 or 70 million euro average. But what we're doing is we're building a pipeline for when people come back for second and third rounds of funding, that the latter years of the TIC will actually be probably closer to 100, 120 million on a kind of yearly spend. And so that it's a little bit backloaded in that sense. And then we'll eventually get to some type of steady state. And where that steady state is, I'm not sure we really understand or know that yet. But I'm guessing it's probably closer to that 75 to 100 million euros per year once we get to a steady state of having both initial projects, second and third round fundings, all mixed in a big portfolio.
Great. So there's a question now around proposal deadlines. So this question for Emmanuel, when is the cutoff date for the proposals again?
Okay, good question. Proposal may be submitted at any time to the TIC selection committee that reviews all proposal every 6 to 8 weeks. In the website, there's a section how to apply date and timing when you can see when are the schedule of the TIC selection committee. For information, the next deadline is May 22nd for the June selection committee review.
And just to add on that, though, for the Secretariat, we keep an ongoing pipeline of all of the ideas in the movement that are coming forth. So you needn't wait for one of those deadlines to submit your proposal. We really do encourage you to contact the Secretariat as soon as you're working on a proposal. Not only can they help you strengthen it, but it also helps the Secretariat keep track of the pipeline of ideas that are coming eventually towards the TIC.
Yep, very good point, yeah.
Thank you. Maureen, I think I'll ask this next question to you. So are there any particular topics that the TIC is interested in receiving within the 3 categories that have been identified? So within the selection committee, do you find that there's certain topics within those 3 categories that the selection committee is interested in seeing more about or receiving more proposals on?
Great, thank you. That's a great question as well. So let me turn the question around a little bit. So basically, right now, I think we're collectively constructing a sense as a TIC and as a selection committee of the areas where MSF feels there are needs, there are gaps, there are places in the fields where there would be a need for a particular innovation that it's not happening, or a particular transformational idea that could be tested and it's not yet been tried out. And so we're constructing for ourselves a mental map, and for that we're relying very much on the MSFer in all key places and all the stakeholders in the MSF movement. So, for instance, we're particularly interested in the analysis of the medical directors when it comes to where they feel, we're lacking innovations in medical terms. Is it in diagnostics? Is it in, in other areas that we haven't been thinking about? So the way in which we're really trying to think about it here is together with the MSFers that are aware of the reality and dynamics of the fields and where the gaps are, to try to see with them where are the main areas where we feel there might be some particular need. This is a work in process. I can't say that at this stage we've fully mapped out, or pretend that at this stage we fully identify basically particular area where we would like to incentivize or push particular proposals. But I am pretty sure that within the next few months, this is something that we'll be able to come back to and have a discussion with you all about in terms of the areas where we see there might be particular gaps already. The one that comes to mind that I know I've discussed with Mercedes and some others is indeed in the areas of diagnostics that I've mentioned in passing. But yet again, this is anecdotal and doesn't pretend to map out all the gaps that might be in existence.
I think we have room for a couple of more questions. So, Emmanuel, I'll ask you this next question. So, within MSF, how is preparation done for a proposal that perhaps has already been submitted to the TIC on a similar topic? So, to avoid duplication and to maximize complementarity, is the TIC Secretariat a resource that provides that kind of information to prospective applicants?
Yes, definitely. One of the roles of the Secretariat is to ensure that we put in connection any MSF entities that have a proposal which is either similar or close to another proposal which has been either approved or is within the submission process. So, last week we put together a team in the USA with a team in Europe on one same project related to surgical training, and we are doing that. It's part of the role that we have to ensure that we can build from two different ideas even a better proposal possibly that can address either both separately or both together.
Great, thank you, Emmanuel. So one final question we can ask from the audience is, I'll ask Steve if you can comment on this one. So how is the coordination between the TIC and current innovation functions and structures in MSF?
Well, I think the communication is open, and we are communicating with all of the various entities. As you know, there are many entities in the movement that are dealing with research and development or dealing with innovation. We have in Japan folks doing research and development. We have the remnants of the existing innovation fund from the Nordic countries. So we're speaking with everyone, also with the project management teams. We're going to the innovation fairs. Emmanuel already mentioned that we'll be at the scientific days. So we're really ensuring to keep really the best collaboration and cooperation across all of MSF. And if anyone here on the line is joining and has ideas or knows about people in MSF that we should be in touch with, then please also send them to the email address, and we'll get in touch with them too.
Thank you, Steve. So Maureen, I think I'll call on you for this one final question. And it's more to get your perspective on the TIC. So it's around, why do you believe in the TIC? And why is the TIC a great initiative for MSF?
Yet another great question. I believe in the TIC because I think it has the potential not only to deliver great concrete outcomes for MSF in the field, but mostly, and maybe most importantly, because it has the potential to change the way in which MSF thinks about innovation and transformation. And I think if the TIC does that, both by generating types of proposal that might not have been generated otherwise, by supporting people that are developing projects in ways that are helping them reach outside to additional resources and really expand their reach to the extent that they can, both within and outside MSF. And if some of those can be scaled up, and if from those that cannot, we can actually learn in a manner that helps us move forward, then I think this will be a unique endeavor in MSF in so many ways that I hope we will all cherish it and carry it forward. So yeah, absolutely, I believe in the TIC. Yeah.
Can hear your passion in that response, Maureen. So thank you. So I think that will wrap the question and answer section for now. If you do have more questions, then please write it to tic@msf.org and we will respond to your question that way. So I'll hand it back to Steve to wrap up the TIC webinar.
Well, I just want to thank all of you for joining. It's been a real pleasure on the behalf of the selection committee and the steering committee to be able to tell you all about the TIC, to take your questions. And we look forward not only to the ongoing conversation, but we do look forward to the role that we'll play together in transforming MSF and better serving our patients around the world. So thank you so much.